The blood imprisonment tower is not a product of Earth Star. Sensing the suppression of the lightning and thunder in the sky, this thought suddenly popped up in Su Jingxing's mind. The blood imprisonment tower might be very powerful, but it was not powerful enough that Earth Stars will sought to kill it. Only when one reached a certain level of strength and was not born on Earth Star would they be cleansed. This was Earth Star's instinctive counterattack, and also a characteristic of life planets. When a life form was strong enough to threaten the planet would automatically annihilate it. This process was tribulation transcendence. For example, the first chief of the Heart Moon Foxes, Nyen Gur, transcended the heavenly tribulation of a sixth realm devil king. Currently, the blood imprisonment tower was in its complete state and had the power to threaten Earth Star. Therefore, Earth Star automatically began the annihilation process. Only by transcending this lightning tribulation could the blood imprisonment tower continue to exist. However, how could a tower, especially one without a tower spirit, transcend the lightning tribulation? And would Su Jingxing watch idly as the blood imprisonment tower got struck by lightning and thunder? So. Boom! The air trembled and space shattered. Activating the firmament nirvana palm, Su Jingxing struck out at the thunderclouds in the sky. The giant palm imprint flew up from below. Everywhere it passed, space shattered inch by inch and disintegrated. It continued upwards until it struck the thunderclouds. Boom! A dull and loud explosion echoed endlessly. Large patches of lightning clouds dissipated on the spot. But soon, lightning and thunder gathered and the thunderclouds reappeared. Boom! Without another word, Su Jingxing executed the firmament nirvana palm once more to charge at the thunderclouds and lightning. The second wave of heavenly lightning and thunder was still forcefully dispersed before it descended. The same went for the third wave. The fourth wave. There was nothing. A total of 3 waves of lightning and thunder gathered in an attempt to destroy the blood imprisonment tower, but they were dispersed by Su Jingxing's 3 palm strikes. The dark clouds that filled the sky disappeared. Sunlight shone down on the mountain again and the sky was clear again. With a wave of Su Jingxing's hand, a 5-story blood-colored tower quickly shrank and spiraled in his palm, emitting a faint glow. He sized up the blood imprisonment tower and with a thought, controlled the power of the blood imprisonment tower to change its appearance. The color of blood faded, revealing a faint silver color. He sensed that other than the largest central space, the other small spaces all had the ability to transform the soul. Of course, the transformation of the blood imprisonment tower space was different from that of the cosmic tower. Su Jingxing's consciousness seeped into it and sensed the changes. The transformation space of the blood imprisonment tower was more of a cleansing through illusions. Suffer the temptation of all kinds of illusions or die to achieve the transformation of the soul. Su Jingxing thought for a moment and associated this ability with the divine refinement of the cosmic tower. Immediately, he summoned Ming. Ming, at most 1,000 people are allowed in the space for divine refinement. Are there any conditions for these 1,000 people? Su Jingxing asked. Master, there are no requirements for those who enter the divine refinement space, but if you wish to maximize the effect, it's best if the people entering can achieve a certain level of compatibility with it, Ming replied. Compatibility? Su Jingxing was puzzled. Yes, explained Ming. This is the key to divine refinement. The higher the compatibility between the minds of those who enter the second level of cosmic and the divine refinement space, the better the effect. Is this compatibility related to martial arts realm? Su Jingxing asked. A little. Martial artists in the top ranks who have condensed martial art true intent are naturally more effective than those in the middle ranks. However, with the highest compatibility, even an ordinary person can have the best effect, explained Ming. Is that so? Su Jingxing pondered. Then how do we test this compatibility? We can't possibly let everyone enter the refinement space once, right? Before Master obtained the blood imprisonment tower, that was indeed the case. But with the blood imprisonment tower and the two spaces connected, as long as a person enters the blood imprisonment tower first, Ming can test the target's compatibility with the divine refinement space, Ming replied respectfully. Ha ha ha, Su Jingxing laughed out loud. That's what I thought too. The blood imprisonment tower had the ability to stimulate using illusions and transform the soul. The second level of the cosmic tower could be connected to the internal space of the blood imprisonment tower. With the blood prison tower, he would be able to know in advance whether the people selected to enter the second level of the cosmic tower were suitable. Coincidentally, Su Jingxing had completely grasped the blood imprisonment tower while Su Jingxing could only control the cosmic tower through Ming. There were still 5 levels sealed in the cosmic tower. Select the people to enter the cosmic tower through the blood imprisonment tower. It was the method that Su Jingxing had come up with on a whim. This way, there was no need for the cosmic tower to be exposed. As for the exposure of the blood imprisonment tower, Su Jingxing did not fear anyone. Now that Su Jingxing had changed the blood imprisonment tower, the blood energy had been restrained. The small spaces inside could create their own illusions and the tower could completely be used as a trial tower. That's right. Su Jingxing's idea was to expose the blood imprisonment tower as a training tower and attract all the martial artists in the U-Nation to enter the illusions to challenge them. As long as a person entered the blood imprisonment tower and began a challenge, Ming could test the other party's mental state and see how compatible they were with the divine refinement space on the second level of cosmic. Needless to say, if he discovered that someone was very compatible, he could immediately guide them into the divine refinement space. Under Ming's control, the divine refinement space could also be developed into small spaces and separated to create illusions. A martial artist challenging the illusions would indirectly help Su Jingxing refine his soul. The transmission of a martial artist's divine refinement might not be much, but that of 100 or 1,000 martial artists would be a great harvest. During this process, martial artists would also obtain benefits from challenging the illusions. They could unleash their strength to their heart's content in the illusions, constantly challenging and strengthening themselves. During the process of strengthening, the soul would also become stronger. A win-win situation. No, many wins. The blood imprisonment tower would attract everyone's attention at the front. The cosmic tower would remain behind the scenes, silently controlled by Ming to select the people with the highest compatibility from the blood imprisonment tower to help Su Jingxing with divine refinement. Of course. Su Jingxing couldn't handle such a major matter that involved all the martial artists in the U-Nation alone. He had to get the cabinet's help. At this thought, Su Jingxing put away the blood imprisonment tower and left the boundless mountain range at lightning speed, returning to the U-Nation. Out of the 5 barbarian gods, the last one had gone to the southern wilderness for some unknown reason. Su Jingxing was busy with divine refinement and let it go for now. He returned to the U-Nation through the void world to shorten the distance. The essence soul descended directly to the imperial palace in the capital and went to the prime minister, Manhwa, to explain the situation. What? Martial sage, you want to give all the martial artists in the country a chance to become stronger and open up a treasure tower as a training ground? Manhwa's eyes widened in shock. That's right. This trial tower has more than 10,000 illusory spaces inside. It can accommodate 10,000 people at the same time to launch illusion challenges. During the challenge, not only can one release all the knowledge he has learned in his life to his heart's content, he can also understand his own strength and strengthen his soul. Su Jingxing's essence soul explained calmly, for martial artists in the lower ranks, the trial space can allow them to strengthen their internal force and produce true energy in each challenge. For martial artists in the middle ranks, it can speed up the transformation of their true energy and the condensation of their martial art true intent. For martial artists in the top ranks, be it condensing a divine embryo or incubating an essence soul, it can speed up their epiphany. In short, the trial tower is beneficial to every martial artist. As long as they can enter, they will more or less benefit. Guan Zhonghua's mouth gaped open. Since the essence soul said so, it meant that this matter was true. There was really such a magical tower that allowed the martial artists of the entire U-nation to enjoy the opportunity to become stronger quickly. Guan Zhonghua didn't know why Su Jingxing's essence soul was bringing out the tower. However, he understood that since the essence soul had come knocking on his door, it meant that this matter had been confirmed. He only needed to cooperate with the essence soul and complete the maintenance of order. Yes, Su Jingxing had approached the cabinet to get their help with the entry and exit of the blood imprisonment tower. Once this piece of news spread, the entire country would definitely be in an uproar. All the U-nation's martial artists would go crazy. Martial artists in the top ranks, middle ranks, and lower ranks would scream and thank Su Jingxing. This was a great thing. Sure, the treasure tower that could allow all martial artists to enjoy benefits was the divine refinement space on the second level of cosmic. But Su Jingxing wasn't lying. The blood imprisonment tower also had the effect of transforming one's soul. Su Jingxing was only picking out the people with the highest compatibility among those who had entered the blood imprisonment tower to help him with divine refinement. After communicating with Ming carefully, Su Jingxing knew that the divine refinement on the second level of cosmic went on continuously. In other words, as long as the person had a high compatibility score, they could come back at any time to temper their soul in the divine refinement space and strengthen themselves. They would also be able to help Su Jingxing in that process. Therefore, Su Jingxing wanted as many people as he could get. Breaking through to the soul platform realm, condensing divine consciousness, forming Dharma characteristic, and even transcending the tribulation. Su Jingxing could use them all. Understood. After a while, Guan Zhonghua regained his composure and said seriously, "Don't worry, martial sage. We will do our job well." Yes. Su Jingxing's essence soul nodded. 10,000 spots, daily swaps. As for the candidates, 5,000 for the U-nation and 5,000 for the original New Chu nation. Among the 5,000 spots, officials and military personnel can take 3,000. The remaining 2,000 will be distributed to the public. Be it drawing lots or raffle, in short, we can publicize it today and people can enter the trial tower in 2 days. As he spoke, Su Jingxing's main body took out the blood imprisonment tower in the void world and opened the border membrane. He placed the tower at the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin, at the border between the U nation and the former New Chu nation. As it descended, it slowly enlarged until it reached its maximum size. With a bang, the 100-meter-tall tower sat in the center of the basin. The Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin was now the center of the newly merged U nation. It did not favor the U nation nor the former New Chu nation. "I've already put down the tower." Su Jingxing's essence soul said, "The location is at the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin. You can call there now and instruct the prefecture army to keep an eye on the scene." "Got it." Guan Zhonghua took a deep breath. "I'll make the arrangements now." "Go ahead." Su Jingxing's essence soul stood up. "I'll wait for you guys there." Then, its body turned illusory and it soared into the sky. After Su Jingxing's essence soul left, Guan Zhonghua did not take action immediately. Instead, he stood rooted to the ground for a while before patting his face and walking out of the room calmly to give orders. Firstly, they had to publicize this shocking news through the internet, television, radio, and all other channels. They had to let every martial artist in the U nation know the contents of the news. Then, he informed the border troops from the prefecture army to guard the tower to prevent certain people from messing around. Even though the possibility of that was very low and no one with normal intelligence would make a fuss since Su Jingxing's essence soul would personally be there. What if someone really did? Guan Zhonghua did not dare to take the risk. With this matter, no amount of cautiousness would be too much. Next, the allocation of spots. There were 10,000 slots per day, and Su Jingxing's essence soul gave half to the original U nation and half to the former New Chu nation. For each half, the military and officials only took 3,000 spots. The remaining 2,000 spots were to be released to the public. And the biggest problem was how to pick these 2,000 people. Since it concerned becoming stronger, everyone wanted to be the first to enter the trial tower. Putting others aside, even Guan Zhonghua, if not for the fact that he was the prime minister and had to abide by the rules, he would have used his power for personal gain. That's right, the candidates were the hardest to decide. However, since Su Jingxing's essence soul had given the order, Guan Zhonghua could only cooperate. Although Su Jingxing's essence soul did not say how many times each person could enter, it was obvious that basically every person only had one chance. It couldn't be helped. The U-Nation was too big now. There were nearly 5 billion people, and almost 20 million martial artists among them. 10,000 people a day, how many days would it take for everyone to finish one turn? No matter how much Guan Zhonghua wanted to complain, he could only cooperate. In reality, 10,000 people a day was specially set by Su Jingxing. Given the Blood Imprisonment Tower's spatial ability, even 50,000 people a day was no problem. But that would require Su Jingxing to expend his soul power to maintain it. 10,000 was just right. It reached the limits of the Blood Imprisonment Tower's ability. As long as the steps were set, there was no need for Su Jingxing to maintain it. Guan Zhonghua acted quickly. Half an hour later, the news was announced on the internet, television, radio, and other channels everywhere in the nation. In an instant, everyone in the country was excited. The martial sage was opening up a trial tower to give martial artists of the U-Nation a chance to become stronger. What a great opportunity! Ha ha ha, good, this is great. The martial sage is too cool. F***ck, what kind of tower is this? It can actually accommodate 10,000 people at the same time. Most importantly, all martial artists have a chance to enter. One batch a day is good. There are so many martial artists. I wonder who would be in the first batch. Who cares? Didn't you see the announcement? The martial sage is personally guarding the trial tower. Who would dare to cause trouble? I just want to know, why can't ordinary people like us enter? You wish to go in. What would you go in for? Do you know what an illusion trial means? Do you want to go there to sleep or dream? Ha ha ha. Screams and shouts. From east to west, south to north, the entire U-Nation. At this moment, everyone was discussing excitedly. Quick, old you, faster. On the road outside the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin, a car was speeding along, stirring up clouds of dust that were half a meter tall. In the front passenger seat, a man in his 30s held on to the safety handle. His face was filled with excitement as he shouted, faster. I believe the martial sage won't blame us for entering the tower before the prefecture army. We are also U-Nation citizens now. Once we enter the tower, we don't have to wait for the screening and drawing of lots. We'll get to enter immediately. I know. In the driver's seat, the man driving was also in his 30s. He was muscular and did not even have time to put on his clothes. He was only wearing a pair of pants. It was obvious that he had come out in a hurry. In fact, the two of them happened to be looking for a herb in the woods outside the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin today. When they saw the news on their phones and learned that the martial sage had opened up a tower for all martial artists to train, they immediately dropped the herbs excitedly and rushed to the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin. In theory, no one was closer than them. The forest where the two of them were previously was less than 10 miles away from the center of the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin. For this, the two of them immediately left the mountain and got into the car to hurry on their way. Their goal was to enter the tower before the prefecture army took control of the tower to maintain order around it. As long as they entered the tower, they would not have to wait for days, nor would they have to draw lots and queue up like the others. Therefore, their car drove very fast along the way. Fortunately, they were martial artists. Chu Yijian, who was in the front passenger seat, and Yu Chen, who was driving, were both in the 8th grade. They used their internal force to maintain their grip in the car so that they would not be sent flying when they turned a corner. The distance of less than 10 miles was quickly covered. Of course, the center of the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin was not suitable for driving. Chu Yijian and Yu Chen stopped 700 to 800 meters away from the trial tower and got out of the car to run. From afar, they saw a 100-meter-tall tower standing on the ground, shining brightly under the sunlight. Before they could get close, they felt an invisible pressure descending from above their heads. Chu Yijian and Yu Chen both shuddered. Their restless and excited emotions immediately calmed down. Their dashing turned to normal steps as they slowly moved closer. When the two of them arrived at the bottom level of the tower and stood in front of the open doors, preparing to step in. "Stop right there." A low shout suddenly sounded in the air. Swoosh! Amidst the sound of rushing wind, a figure descended from the sky and blocked their way. "The martial sage has ordered that the trial tower will open in 2 days. You guys came early. Please leave immediately." The general from the prefecture army who blocked the way was dressed in armor and carrying a broadsword on his back. His aura was cold as he scanned Chu Yijian and Yu Chen. We're just taking a look." Chu Yijian's eyes flickered as he argued, the announcement only said that the trial tower will open in 2 days. It didn't say that we can't come and take a look in advance. Yes. We're just taking a look. We don't intend to go in," Yu Chen stuttered in agreement. There's no point in quibbling." The general chuckled. "I'll cut to the chase. If you leave now, nothing will happen. If you don't listen, that'll." Thud. Thud. Chu Yijian suddenly dropped to his knees. Yu Chen was a beat slower and followed suit. The general was shocked and took 2 steps back. "What are you guys doing?" "Martial sage above." From the Jiannan prefecture, Chu Yijian. "Yu Chen. The 2 of us arrived at the trial tower in advance. I hope the martial sage will allow us to enter the tower." Chu Yijian and Yu Chen knelt down in front of the tower and shouted. "If we have disturbed the martial sage, the 2 of us are willing to accept any punishment. We only ask for the martial sage to give us a way out and allow us to enter the tower." The 2 of them kowtowed as they shouted. When the general in his 30s heard this, his expression changed. He did not say anything else and only stepped aside. Chu Yijian and Yu Chen were kneeling to the martial sage, not him. How this was to be resolved was up to the martial sage, not him. The scene fell silent. Both Chu Yijian and Yu Chen kowtowed in silence. Virum. The sound of cars roaring in the distance kept approaching. Whoosh! 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 The sound of rushing wind was also endless as they quickly came closer. At the bottom level of the tower, there was no movement through the open doors. Chu Yijian and Yu Chen knelt for a while, but received no response. Their faces were pale with fear. If the martial sage did not respond, did that mean that he had been angered by them? At this thought, Chu Yijian and Yu Chen's bodies trembled uncontrollably. Right then, a clear passageway appeared in the originally white light-filled space at the entrance. A faint glow spread out from the passageway and enveloped Chu Yijian and Yu Chen. "This is..." Chu Yijian, Yu Chen, and the general were all stunned. Chu Yijian's mind raced. The fear in his eyes retreated, and his breathing slowly became heavier. Has the martial sage agreed? With that, he slowly crawled forward on the ground and approached the entrance. Yu Chen and the general watched unblinkingly and held their breaths. Chu Yijian remained silent. He moved his hands forward and inched closer. Closer, closer. Finally, he pressed one hand on the door, then the second. Then his head, body, and legs. Even when he crawled into the passageway entirely, nothing abnormal happened. The peaceful scene undoubtedly showed one thing. The martial sage had really agreed. Instantly, Chu Yijian's chest heaved up and down, his eyes filled with excitement. Chu Yijian thanks the martial sage. With that, he leaped up and ran into the passageway. Thank you, martial sage. Seeing this, Yu Chen also climbed through the entrance excitedly. However, someone was faster than him. Seeing that Chu Yijian had not been chased out, the general standing at a side decisively followed. Without kowtowing or giving thanks, he simply ran in. Yu Chen was stunned. In the next moment, he cursed inwardly and jumped up to rush through the doors. The three of them entered the passageway one after another, but as they ran, they automatically separated and entered a forked path. Then, they were led into small separate spaces. Outside the tower, the prefecture army and others who had rushed over from afar could not help but exclaim when they saw this scene. They've gone in. Now. Wasn't it announced that the tower would only open in 2 days? The cabinet must have delayed it by 2 days to prepare for the containment. That's right. Those big shots in the cabinet definitely want to control the spots, so they're deliberately stalling for time. Everyone, charge. Brothers from the prefecture army, charge together. Your general has also entered, which means that you can also enter. There's no need to wait outside. Go. Go. The approaching teams were in an uproar at once. Shouts and yells immediately resounded through the sky. In order to enter the tower in advance, many martial artists simply dragged the prefecture army down with them. The prefecture army troops who were flying were indeed moved. Their eyes were bright. When they approached the doors at the bottom level of the trial tower, tacitly, no one made a move to stop them and everyone entered the tower in an orderly manner. Good job, that's how it should be. Seeing this, the others chuckled or laughed out loud. A group of people swarmed behind and entered the trial tower. Just like the 3 people before, as they stepped through the doors and ran through the passageway, they were quickly automatically separated and stepped into different forks, being brought into small spaces. The small spaces were stimulated and the illusions were quickly activated. Chu Yijian felt his vision blur. A blood-colored mutated beast appeared in his vision and pounced towards him fiercely. The materialized blood aura and invisible pressure were like real mutated beasts, causing Chu Yijian's soul and body to tremble. He immediately snarled angrily and calmed his mind. He first dodged the mutated beast's charge, then circulated his internal force and executed his martial arts to attack from the sides. The same went for Yu Chen. After entering the small space, a mutated beast appeared in his vision and pounced over swiftly. It was too fast, and before Yu Chen could react, he was pushed to the ground. His chest and neck were attacked, and he died on the spot. Ah! Amidst the screams and miserable cries, Yu Chen's consciousness returned. He opened his eyes and found himself standing at the door of the room unscathed. The mutated beast that had just killed him had disappeared. An illusion? No, the pain in his neck and chest was still there. This was not a hallucination, but an illusion. Although he would not die after being killed, the pain he suffered would be transmitted directly from his soul to his body, allowing him to clearly feel the feeling of death. Those with weak wills might break down after one try and choose to escape. Yu Chen's willpower was not bad. He felt the same pain. In his lingering fear, he gritted her teeth and rushed into the room again. This time, he was prepared to fight the mutated beast that appeared. Then, he realized that although this blood-colored mutated beast was ferocious and fast, it did not have any innate abilities. It only had the sharp claws and teeth of a beast. It was fearless. Coupled with internal force martial arts, fighting this mutated beast was no problem. After Yu Chen realized this, he quickly gained the upper hand. The situation was about the same for the others. After entering the small spaces, they were immediately attacked by the mutated beasts, puppets, barbarians, and giant insects in the illusions. The pain from being killed could clearly be felt on their bodies. For those who won, the strength of the newly spawned mutated beasts and puppets would increase by 1 level. This was a program that Su Jingxing had set up in advance. In the initial illusion trial, the strength of the mutated beasts, puppets, and others would be similar to that of 9th grade martial artists. 9th grade, 8th grade, 7th grade, all the way to 1st grade. Those in the illusions could challenge each level step by step. Su Jingxing used his will to sense the situation in every small space and summon Ming to check everyone's compatibility with the 2nd level of the cosmic tower. The divine refinement space was connected to the blood imprisonment space, and Ming silently shuttled through the small spaces. Soon, it detected the information it wanted. Master, a discovery. This man's compatibility score is as high as 30. He can enter divine refinement. Already? Not bad, not bad. When he finishes this round, move him to the divine refinement space for the next, Su Jingxing said happily. Yes, Ming replied. However, in the next moment, it called out again, Master, I've made another discovery. This woman's compatibility score is as high as 50. There's also this older one, compatibility score is as high as 45. This one is not bad either. 40. Another one, 38. Ming kept reporting to Su Jingxing as it shuttled around the blood imprisonment space. As Su Jingxing listened, his face was filled with joy. Not bad, not bad, not bad at all. In just a few minutes, they found more than 10 people with high compatibility. These people's ages, genders, martial arts cultivation, and realms were all unrelated. It all depended on their mental compatibility. If it was high, and vice versa. Su Jingxing's tacit agreement to let them enter the tower in advance and start the trial was not in vain. Su Jingxing had heard Chu Yijian and Yu Chen's shouts. He did not make a sound because he did not want to go against the rules he had set. However, by allowing them to enter the tower in advance, Su Jingxing would be able to reap benefits a day earlier. That was why he quietly opened the passageway and let them in. However, as more and more people arrived at the scene and entered the blood imprisonment tower, even the prefecture army had fallen. They wallowed in the mire together and entered the tower in advance. While Su Jingxing was overjoyed, he silently noted down the number of people who had entered. 10,000 was 10,000. The number of people who entered in advance was 10,000 at most. Therefore, while Ming was scouting, Su Jingxing silently counted the number of people. When he had gathered 10,000 people, he decisively closed the entrance. Bang! 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 The martial artists who followed the people in front and rushed through the doors were suddenly sent flying by an invisible force and repelled. Ah! Watch out! What's going on? In front of the entrance of the blood imprisonment tower, the people who were sent flying crashed into the groups behind, causing a mess. The excited and agitated crowd immediately sobered up after this chaos. Those who were close to the entrance took a few steps forward and touched the invisible wall. They were enlightened and frustrated. We can't get in, it has reached full capacity. D****, I should have been faster. Ah, just one step away. I'm just one step away. F***ck, the people in front have it F***king good. In front of the entrance, the crowd was in an uproar. Some were cursing, some were complaining, and some were sighing. Among them, the soldiers from the prefecture army were also depressed. Their comrades in front grabbed the opportunity to enter the trial tower. They were a few steps late and were blocked outside. It was unknown how long it would take for them to enter the tower. Sigh. With this in mind, sighs sounded non-stop. Disperse, disperse. Everyone can disperse now. When a commander of the prefecture army later learned of the situation, he flew into the air and shouted, "The entrance to the tower has been closed. Those seeking to enter in the next batch, come tomorrow. Now, disperse." The commander shouted. The people on the ground discussed animatedly and lingered around. The commander. He only ordered the troops that had yet to enter the tower to begin maintaining order. The noisy scene gradually returned to order. In the blood imprisonment tower. Su Jingxing listened and watched the commotion outside with a grin. The next batch of people to enter. Not tomorrow, but 2 days later. Those who were already in had been approved in advance. It was the back door that Su Jingxing opened for himself. However, subsequently, everything had to be done according to the rules set earlier on. 10,000 people entered the blood imprisonment tower. They were separated and sent into 10,000 independent small spaces to carry out the trial challenge. Ming checked them one by one and found 91 people with compatibility scores that were higher than 30. Anyone with a score below 30 would be abandoned. According to Ming, since there were enough people to supplement them in the future, they would only accept those whose compatibility were above 30. It would be a waste for anyone below to occupy a spot. Su Jingxing readily agreed. Under Ming's control, these 91 people were quietly transferred to the second level of the cosmic tower and began divine refinement. It was also possible to carry out illusion trials in the divine refinement space, but the efficiency was not high. Therefore, Su Jingxing gestured for Ming to interfere with the thoughts of these 91 people. They were no longer fighting with mutated beasts, puppets, and barbarians. Instead, they were comprehending martial arts and martial theories. Even if they were sitting still or doing homework, as long as their minds worked, thinking and pondering, they would be several times more efficient than usual. With this efficiency, the feedback received by the divine refinement space was transmitted to Su Jingxing and he automatically began soul refining. It was fine if one was talented, but if one was average, soul refining would only take time. Su Jingxing's soul power had increased, but his talent had not changed. Therefore, with 91 people helping him refine his soul, the efficiency was excellent. In his essence soul state, his body slowly transformed. Of course, transforming from soul formation to primordial spirit required more comprehension. Once comprehended, the transformation would immediately be completed. This process could take anywhere from decades to centuries, or even centuries. However, if fast, one could succeed in one night. Su Jingxing didn't know how long it would take if he were to rely on himself. However, now that he had the cosmic tower, with the help of divine refinement on the second level, the duration would be greatly shortened. Currently, 91 people were helping to refine his soul. As the number of people increased, the duration would be reduced further. As for the exposed blood imprisonment tower that could make all martial artists stronger and attract covetous eyes, Su Jingxing was not afraid of enemies. Putting aside the fact that he had already refined the blood imprisonment tower and turned it into a domain and anyone who dared to enter the tower to seize it would be courting death. Just the strength of Su Jingxing's essence soul alone made him unafraid of enemies. Not to mention a physical body in the 9th class of the essence opening realm. Anyone on Earth Star would die. Pei Donglai. Xiahou Chuanwu. They were all in the past. And that was indeed the case. The night Su Jingxing released the blood imprisonment tower, he received a message from the Heavenly Secrets platform. On Pei Donglai's behalf, Luo Ao requested to see Su Jingxing's essence soul. Su Jingxing's essence soul couldn't be bothered to meet him. It directly asked Guan Zhonghua to reply and tell Luo Ao to scram. Pei Donglai was filled with fear and did not dare to fight. This was completely within Su Jingxing's expectations. Now that Luo Ao had come to cancel the duel, agreeing to the cancellation was one thing. However, the essence soul did not want to meet him. Why bother? Nation, the capital. Guan Zhonghua hung up the call and turned to enter the reception room. He said calmly to Luo Ao's physical body, who was waiting inside, Martial Sage Luo, our martial sage said that the duel can be cancelled, but he won't come. It's fine, it's fine. Martial Sage Kong is a busy person. I understand, I understand. Luo Ao squeezed out a smile and said stiffly, "In that case, I'll take my leave first. I shall not disturb Prime Minister Guan. Then I won't keep you any longer." Guan Zhonghua smiled. "As you can see, Martial Sage Luo, our country is very busy now. I won't send you off." "There's no need to send me off, of course there's no need." Luo Ao smiled stiffly and said, "The Jing nation is really envious of Martial Sage Kong for seeking and providing benefits to the entire country's martial artists." "Huh, it's nothing much." Guan Zhonghua chuckled and did not speak again. Seeing this, Luo Ao's expression stiffened again. Then, he shut up and left. Although Guan Zhonghua was well-mannered, he never took him seriously. As the martial sage of the Jing nation, the disciple of the number one expert in the world, when had Luo Ao ever suffered such humiliation? In the past, when Luo Ao went to other countries, which prime minister, president, and imperial family of a dynasty would not treat him with utmost respect? On the other hand, other than not directly slapping his face, the nation basically did not even look at him with a straight eye. This made the anger in Luo Ao's heart almost erupt. It was only because he forcefully suppressed his anger rationally that he did not make a move. He was aggrieved, indignant, and furious, but there was nothing he could do. Because Pei Donglai had bowed down. As the number one expert in the world, Pei Donglai's mood had been off since he left the nation the last time. Luo Ao was also in the transcendent grade, so he could sense that the fluctuations in Pei Donglai's essence soul body were especially intense. He was very curious and wanted to know what had happened, but he did not dare to ask. Then, in less than 2 days, he received Pei Donglai's instructions to cancel the duel in the nation. Even though Pei Donglai had made up an excuse that he was suddenly inspired and wanted to go into seclusion to comprehend martial arts. Luo Ao was no fool. How could he not tell that something was wrong? His master, Pei Donglai, the number one expert in the world, was afraid of the nation's martial sage, Kong Xian, and did not dare to fight him. This discovery had left Luo Ao dizzy for the past 2 days. Unacceptable. Unbelievable. Unconceivable. He knew that Kong Xian had killed a barbarian god. Luo Ao also knew that the entire Xianin sect and even the Xianin Islands had been destroyed. However, he never thought that Kong Xian would be stronger than his master. Pei Donglai was publicly recognized as the number one in the world and one of the few primordial spirits on Earth Star. He was wary of Kong Xian and did not dare to fight him. Doesn't that mean that Kong Xian is at least in the primordial spirit realm? With this in mind, most of the indignance and anger in Luo Ao's heart dissipated. Most of the emotion that remained was disbelief. Is Kong Xian really a primordial spirit? Luo Ao didn't want to believe it, but he had to. When he left the nation, he brought with him confusion, shame, and helplessness. The match with Pei Donglai was cancelled. No other martial sages came to bother him either. Su Jingxing's essence soul guarded the cosmic tower every day to refine and comprehend. Su Jingxing had approved 91 people in advance to enter the divine refinement space on the second level of the cosmic tower to refine his soul. The efficiency of Su Jingxing's comprehension had increased, but it was still not enough. After 2 days of waiting, the blood imprisonment tower officially opened. Out of the 10,000 people who were let in, Ming found another 50-odd candidates with compatibility scores exceeding 30. The next day, out of the 10,000 people in the second batch, it found another 30 or so who met the compatibility requirements. There were people who met the requirements almost every day. It was just that there were no longer many of them, and the numbers fluctuated. At times, there were more than 60 people a day, and at times, there were only 2. After half a month, they had gathered 400 people. After another 3 days, they finally gathered 500 people to help Su Jingxing refine his soul. The divine refinement space on the second level of the cosmic tower could hold 1,000 people at full capacity. These 500 people occupied half of the spots. Although it was not fully occupied, the feedback was even faster and more effective. As for these 500 people, they did not come out again after entering the martial sage tower. Su Jingxing deliberately called Guan Zhonghua and asked him to cooperate with him to secretly inform the relatives of these 500 people. The reason used was that Su Jingxing realized that these 500 people were talented and specially kept them to continue challenging the illusions. He planned to pick a few of them as his students. Not taking them as disciples, just students. Even so, Guan Zhonghua, Xiao Renwo, Fu Neng, and the others who had learned the news were all envious. The martial sage was preparing to take in students. Even though they wouldn't be disciples, the news was still shocking. If this news were to spread, wouldn't the entire country be in an uproar? Even Guan Zhonghua, Xiao Renwo, and the others wished they could enter the martial sage tower, get selected by the martial sage and become his students, let alone martial artists and ordinary people. For this reason, Guan Zhonghua, Xiao Renwo, and the others did everything to keep this information a secret. Then, everyone specially disguised themselves and each chose a day to enter the martial sage tower for personal gain. Guan Zhonghua and the others really couldn't hold back on this. They weren't afraid of being discovered. When Su Jingxing's essence soul discovered this, it didn't think much of it and thought that it was the normal order. After all, they were officials and big shots in the cabinet. There was nothing strange about them being in batches of the first few days. On the other hand, through Ming's detection, the compatibility of Guan Zhonghua, Luo Shan, and the others with the divine refinement space was lower than 30. Only Xiao Renwo and Ao Chuanqiu's scores surpassed 30. The former had a compatibility score of 51, while the latter's was 72. As the head supervisor of the U-Nation's Martial Suppression Office, Ao Chuanqiu was also the second most compatible person among the people whose compatibility exceeded 70. They were big shots in the cabinet after all, and Xiao Renwo was the supreme marshal of the U-Nation. Su Jingxing thought for a moment and decided not to eliminate them and let Ming transfer them to the divine refinement space. More than 500 people who met the requirements carried out divine refinement together to help refine his soul. The essence soul's comprehension became faster and better. Finally, on the night before Su Jingxing's main body was about to head to the Seven Luminaries planet again, he completed the transformation from soul formation to primordial spirit. There was nothing special about the last step. He simply suddenly had a feeling and understood everything. Then, the essence soul completely transformed into a primordial spirit. In the primordial spirit realm, one's lifespan would increase to 1,080 years. Moreover, one no longer had to fear sunlight, lightning, and all kinds of taboos. In this realm, one would automatically develop divine consciousness. Su Jingxing had learned a lot about the ability of divine consciousness from others. First was scanning. All-round scanning that resembled radar more than radar. The range would change continuously with the strength of one's soul power. With a thought, Su Jingxing released his divine consciousness. Starting from the Golden Sparrow Mountain Basin, it quickly extended to the left and right, continuously covering the U-Nation's territory. The borders of the original U-Nation and the original New Chu Nation were covered inch by inch. Everywhere it passed, the number of living beings, the whereabouts of mutated beasts, various dangerous places, forbidden areas, and countless voices quickly appeared in Su Jingxing's mind and he heard them. This ability had been available but weakened in his senses in the essence soul state. Since Su Jingxing was experienced, he quickly controlled the enhanced version well now. Unmolested by all kinds of sounds, he only remembered the basic situation, and then. Card plus 509. Card plus 1423. His divine consciousness swept through the crematoriums of the various cities, automatically extracting large amounts of function cards. When his divine consciousness completely covered the entire territory, he automatically extracted more than 3,000 cards. It was obvious what this meant. In that instant, more than 3,000 people had died in the entire country. Of course, under the scan of his divine consciousness, Su Jingxing also discovered that there were more than 2,000 newborns. It seemed that the number of deaths had exceeded the number of newborns. However, this was only for a few seconds. In the entire day, the number of newborns basically exceeded the number of deaths. The U-nation's current conditions were better than that of all the countries in the eastern continent. In addition, they had supported childbirth in the past and were even more supportive now. It could be said that the number of newborns per day far exceeded the number of deaths. The cards he extracted basically contained ordinary functions. They were either essence energy cards, strength enhancement cards, internal force cards, or basic skill cards. There weren't many true energy cards, and no true essence cards. Su Jingxing had too many essence energy cards and strength enhancement cards stored. He could not finish using them all. Therefore, even though he could extract from the corpses of everyone who died in the country with just a thought, Su Jingxing had no use for most of the function cards now. And the ability of divine consciousness was not limited to this. For example, infiltrating someone's sea of consciousness to attack. There was a saying called divine consciousness strangulation. It meant that as long as Su Jingxing was willing, he could kill anyone with his divine consciousness. Of course, it was not a large-scale attack. He had to do it one by one. The process also consumed soul power. Therefore, if someone in the primordial spirit realm were to make a move, one would not be able to withstand it unless they were on the same level. After all, defensive soul treasures were rare. The barbarian gods were strong in the physical body, but their souls also possessed defensive capabilities under the enhancement of their physiques. Apart from that, the primordial spirit could reconstruct the physical body. Su Jingxing didn't care about that. Others were different. Before breaking through to the primordial spirit, a martial sage's body still had to beware of injuries. However, after breaking through to the primordial spirit, the physical body could be reconstructed. Moreover, the reconstructed body would only be stronger than before. But the reconstruction process would consume soul power. It was the same for essence soul manifestations. Condensing an incarnation to travel the world also consumed soul power. After more than half a month, with the help of nearly 600 people, he completed the transformation of his essence soul. Su Jingxing could finally relax. However, soon, Su Jingxing's essence soul began to get busy again. Now that it was already in the primordial spirit realm, it could cultivate the supreme profound soul refining mantra. Of course, only a third of the current contents were available. It first unlocked 10 deduction cards to supplement the supreme profound soul refining mantra. Its luck was average. When it used up all 10 deduction cards, less than half of the contents were replenished. However, there was no problem with cultivating it. There were still 586 martial arts practice cards left. It immediately began the primordial spirit practice of the mantra and entered the martial arts practice space. There were more than 92,000 soul separation cards. This was all that Su Jingxing had gathered during this period of time. Compared to the sage origin fruits, the spirit gathering pills obtained from unlocking them were much more effective. This was also the reason why Su Jingxing looked down on the sage origin fruits condensed using the kingdom defending jade seal. It was not easy to condense a sage origin fruit. The soul separation card was different. The higher the realm, the stronger the race, and the more mutations in the soul, the higher the chances of extracting it. Su Jingxing did not continue to keep these 92,000 soul separation cards. He unlocked them one by one and obtained spirit gathering pills. Then, he would devour and absorb them to strengthen his divine consciousness and continue to transform his essence soul. When he felt that it was about time, he began to build a soul platform. If it were anyone else, without the related methods, they wouldn't be able to forge it even if they had abundant soul power. A soul platform was not something one could forge at will. It involved the mysteries of the divine martial arts system. One of the steps of advancement was to improve the unified energy of soul power, will, the control of primordial spirit divine consciousness, the mind and so on. Most importantly, one had to go further into the void and connect with the universe. After all, once the soul platform was successfully forged, one could travel through space and enter the dark areas of the void world. If one did not comprehend the mysteries of space at all, that would be impossible. Although this did not involve the law of space, one's comprehension of the void was still indispensable. Therefore, special methods were required to build a soul platform. Jingxing didn't have such a method, but he had previously killed a soul platform realm expert from the Tuahai family on the Seven Luminaries planet and obtained a soul platform card. He had unlocked and used it before. It would be an exaggeration to say that he already had experience. However, Jingxing didn't believe that he couldn't forge it by imitating the state of the soul platform back then. Even if he failed in the end, it didn't matter. He had no lack of soul separation cards. If he failed this time, with the experience, he would definitely succeed next time. Therefore, Jingxing did not hold back. The spirit-gathering pills unlocked from more than 90,000 soul separation cards had all been consumed. In the end, only an outline of the soul platform was duplicated, but the primordial spirit's body was completely solidified. His realm had been perfectly consolidated during the process of building the soul platform. This result was already pretty good. The outline of the soul platform this time proved that the steps were correct. Next time, when he accumulated 100,000 to 200,000 soul separation cards and unlocked them again to obtain the spirit-gathering pills, he would be able to absorb them for his transformation. That would basically settle the ground level of the soul platform. The soul platform was divided into 9 levels, 1 level for each heaven. With every level forged, one would be able to grasp a ray of soul platform divine light. There were a total of 9 soul platform divine lights. This soul platform divine lights was a powerful force. It could dispel the darkness and separate the void. It was extremely magical. Although Jingxing was envious, he knew that haste would not get him anywhere. After using up the soul separation cards, his physical body would go to the Seven Luminaries planet and he could slowly extract more. The essence soul had successfully transformed into a primordial spirit. Jingxing was even more confident of holding down the fort in the U-Nation now. He no longer had to fear other transcendent grade experts coming to his door. It was also time to head to the glazed illusory sea. Immediately, Jingxing's physical body entered the 4th level of the cosmic tower and activated instant space to return to the Seven Luminaries planet. Seven Luminaries planet. Jingxing appeared in the air. He first scanned his surroundings with his divine consciousness to make sure that there were no devils around. With a flash, he soared into the sky and rushed to Yuedang Mountain. The last time, they had agreed that Jingxing would be part of the Heart Moon Foxes on this trip. Since the Heart Moon Fox King was not worried about what the Tuahai family thought, Jingxing was naturally not afraid either. Kong Xian, you're here. After Jingxing arrived at Yuedang Mountain, he followed a Heart Moon Fox to meet the Fox King, Feng Xian. When the latter saw Jingxing, he nodded and greeted him. We're setting off soon. I thought you had given up when you didn't appear. I'm sorry, I was delayed by some matters on the way, Jingxing apologized. It's fine. You arrived just in time. Feng Xian waved his hand and said, on this trip to the glazed illusory sea, the leader of the Heart Moon Foxes is our first chief. I've already spoken to her. You just have to follow the main group. Understood. Jingxing nodded. Are we setting off soon? Yes. Let's go to the spaceship first, said Feng Xian as he led the way. Jingxing followed behind. On the way, he did not look around much and soon arrived at his destination. A spaceship that was 300 to 400 meters long stopped in midair. This spaceship was different from the starship that Tuahai Taiyan had come on last time. Instead, it looked like an ancient sailboat. However, there was a thick protective barrier on it for some reason. Su Jingxing followed Feng Xian onto the spaceship and met the first chief, the Sixth Realm Fox King, Nian Gur. After exchanging greetings, Feng Xian left, while Su Jingxing remained on the spaceship. Perhaps because he had helped the Heart Moon Foxes twice, Su Jingxing was given a small independent room in the cabin of the spaceship. It was enough for him to rest. He did not wait any longer. Soon, the spaceship was launched. With a soft vibration, it left Yuedang Mountain and rose into the air. At first, its speed was fast. When it was close to the atmosphere, it suddenly sped up and broke out of the Seven Luminaries planet. It shuttled through space at sublight speed and arrived in outer space. There was a small window in Su Jingxing's room. He stood at the window and looked at the starry sky through the thick special glass, admiring the unique scenery. The suns of the Seven Luminaries planet circled around the planet. After leaving the Seven Luminaries planet, and looking back at it from space, he realized that this planet was unbelievably huge. The seven suns were also extremely magical. When they moved far away, looking at the Seven Luminaries planet from afar was like looking at a big pearl surrounded by seven small pearls. From afar, the moon was almost connected to the Seven Luminaries planet. After leaving the area where the Seven Luminaries planet was, the starry sky darkened significantly. However, the speed of the spacecraft was not slow. From time to time, it would even shuttle through the void. It was not a wormhole leap, but void shuttling. Su Jingxing didn't know the principle behind the spaceship or how to determine its location, but such void shuttling could continuously widen the distance. The starry sky was vast, and the spaceship was small. After passing through a meteorite belt, a shattered sun, which was a star, appeared ahead. The huge star cracked from the middle. The sides were like mud walls played with by children. They were full of holes and barely holding on to each other to prevent it from completely falling apart. After passing by the broken star, they entered a dark area. At this moment, the lights inside the spaceship were also extinguished. Just as Su Jingxing was puzzled, he suddenly sensed a threat from outside. Then, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were terrifying existences in this dark area. Did the spaceship turn off the lights and fly silently to avoid these existences? Su Jingxing's eyes flashed as he was enlightened. It could only be said that there were too many threats in the universe. There were also creatures that lived in space. Moreover, they existed directly in the darkness. It was unknown what method the Heart Moon Fox's spaceship had used to pass through this dark area. Clearly, the Heart Moon Foxes were confident enough to take this route. Su Jingxing wasn't too worried. Sure enough, before long, the spaceship left the area. Nothing happened during the entire process. They continued on their way. The spaceship shuttled through the void twice more. When they emerged from a void for the third time, Su Jingxing's eyes lit up. In the distant space on the right, countless interstellar battleships were engaged in an intense battle in the vast space. All kinds of energy beams and high-tech weapons erupted with dazzling light comparable to the sun in the vast space. As soon as an energy beam shot out, the interstellar battleship that was struck immediately exploded. The continuous explosions looked like countless radiant fireworks blooming in the dead silent space from afar. This intense battle between high-tech weapons was like boiling hot water, stirring up the dark starry sky and surging with the heat of the explosions. Boom! 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 A huge explosion shook the air at this moment, comparable to the simultaneous explosion of several planets. In fact, the small planets around the location of the battle had really exploded in the air after enduring the bombardment of countless energy beams and high-tech weapons. The terrifying energy shockwaves produced by the explosions also destroyed a large number of interstellar battleships. Even so, the two sides still showed no signs of stopping. Instead, the flames of war grew stronger and stronger. Behind the two teams, large numbers of interstellar battleships kept emerging from the empty space and joining in the battle. Su Jingxing was watching the show. Suddenly, he sensed a powerful threat coming from afar. The next moment, a loud beast roar suddenly sounded in the starry sky. Roar! It was as if an ancient ferocious beast that had been sleeping for tens of millions of years had been awakened for no reason. In its anger, a terrifying energy aura erupted, accompanied by a frightening pressure that dispersed in the starry sky. The deafening sound caused the starry sky to tremble and buzz non-stop. If the roar of a muscular lion snarling at the sky on the empty grassland could make all beasts submit, then this beast roar was the roar of billions of lions gathered together. It could make all living beings in the world submit instantly. A loud and fearsome roar sounded. In the end, it directly transformed into a materialized sound wave. Like a thick pillar, it suddenly shot out in the vast starry sky. Whoosh! A sound resembling water waves breaking apart was heard. It was clear, pleasant, and surging like a tide. It accurately entered the ears of all living beings present. From afar, this huge sound wave was like a monstrous wave that was 10,000 meters long and 1,000 meters tall, stirring up trouble in the endless sea. The commotion it caused was torrential and world-shaking. Under the impact of this terrifying sound wave, the small interstellar battleships floating in space exploded in less than half a second without any resistance. Boom! 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 Huge explosions followed one after another, like fireworks, releasing fiery red wreaths in the vast starry sky. In the blink of an eye, they spread out to the surrounding star fields at lightning speed. The surging energy aura filled the starry sky. The scorching mechanical torrent rose like boiling water in the endless starry sky. Su Jingxing's pupils constricted rapidly as he watched this scene. He stared at the additional meteorite area in the center of the battlefield, his blood-colored eyes filled with shock. With his spiritual martial body activated, Su Jingxing's vision was incomparably clear. He saw hundreds of mutated beasts of various sizes and heights standing in the air. They stood at the front of the right camp with their heads raised, facing the left camp from afar. These were beasts that Su Jingxing had never seen before. Their massive bodies were like meatballs, but on them, there were bottomless holes. It was as if someone had used guns to turn them into beehives. All of them were riddled with holes and looked extremely miserable. However, Su Jingxing knew that those holes were not wounds. Instead, they were organs that resembled loudspeakers and had the function of amplifiers. Su Jingxing could clearly see that the earth-shattering roar earlier was released through these holes. Densely packed holes covered the entire body. The scarlet surface was suffused with a metallic luster. On closer inspection, it was actually fine scales that were combined. They were embedded into each other like armor, wrapping around its huge body. The beasts had no limbs or heads, but 9 thick feelers that were more than 100,000 meters long were distributed around the fat bodies. The feelers were not at peace for a moment. They kept fluttering in the air like wings, emitting whistling winds. From time to time, lumps of air would be exhaled from an especially large hole. Su Jingxing thought for a moment and knew that that was a mouth, but he couldn't see any fangs or eyes. But in the next moment, Su Jingxing knew that he was wrong. One of the mutated beasts suddenly trembled. Then, terrifying red lights suddenly shot out from the holes all over its body. They flashed 3 times in an orderly manner before disappearing. Su Jingxing was a little stunned by this scene. It turned out that not only were the holes used to amplify sound, they were also the eyes of this monster. What kind of monster is this? Su Jingxing thought for a moment and couldn't help but summon Ming from his soul space. They looked at the battle in the distance and asked. Ming, do you know what those monsters are? This was originally a subconscious question, but Su Jingxing didn't hold much hope. After all, the origin of the cosmic tower was extremely mysterious. Although Ming was the tower spirit that he awakened with the Intelligence Awakening card. Ming's memories had always been related to the cosmic tower and much of it had been sealed. Master, that's a space beast, Ming replied in Su Jingxing's mind. You really know? Su Jingxing was surprised. Yes. Ming looked in the direction of the roar and replied, "This is a space beast called the Demon Sound Kue Beast. All space beasts can shuttle through the void to live. The Demon Sound Kue Beast is just one of them. These space beasts can transmit their voices through space, and they love to eat ground core magma. Ordinary attacks can't break through their defense. Only those in the Cloud Ascension realm can injure them. They are that powerful." Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. On second thought, all giant beasts that lived in space were extraordinary. If there was nothing special about them, how could they have survived? Su Jingxing pondered. Just as he was about to take a closer look, the spacecraft had already shuttled through the void again and left this star field. It was unknown which two factions were fighting. Space was too big, and the chances of encountering others were even lower. It was a coincidence that the spaceship could accidentally enter the edge of the battlefield while shuttling. And the Heart Moon Fox Nian Gur clearly did not want to participate in such a space war. The spaceship only stayed for less than a minute before leaving quickly. Su Jingxing barely managed to get an eyeful. He had personally witnessed a battle in space, a clash of interstellar battleships and superweapons. In the next moment, the scenery outside the window changed. It was quiet, empty, and dotted with stars. The spaceship shuttled through it quickly and steadily. There was naturally no concept of time in space. Su Jingxing did the timing himself. Along the way, he looked at his phone. After passing through the quiet space, the spaceship passed through 7 different star fields. Throughout the journey, Su Jingxing's horizons were broadened, and he gained a different understanding of space. Calculating using the time on Earth star, the spacecraft traveled for almost 5 days before slowing down. At this moment, Su Jingxing was on the deck of the spaceship, looking at the nebula ahead. "We're here. That's the glazed illusory sea." A gentle voice sounded. A charming and handsome man spoke softly beside Su Jingxing. "That's the glazed illusory sea?" Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. In his vision, there was a mass that resembled a nebula, but it was not formed from countless stars. Instead, it was condensed from a pile of multicolored lights. The center area was as bright as the sun, and the nebula with an unknown range quietly stopped in the vast starry sky. Around the nebula, there was not a single star in the vast space. There were only meteors of various sizes floating around. "Yes, this is the glazed illusory sea. No matter how many times I come here, I'm always fascinated by it." The man sighed. "Brother Feng, how many times have you been here?" Su Jingxing was curious. The man was the chief of one of the Heart Moon Fox's 9 lineages. His cultivation was that of a 4th realm great devil general named Feng Fa. Su Jingxing bumped into him on the way to the deck and chatted for a while. They had just connected. "That's right. Among the foxes, I've been to the glazed illusory sea the most number of times. I come here almost every 100 years, Feng Fa said softly. Have you ever gotten lost after entering the glazed illusory sea?" Su Jingxing continued to ask. "Why not?" Feng Fa smiled bitterly. "I almost couldn't get out 1,000 years ago. The danger I encountered that time. Sigh, let's not talk about it anymore." Kong Xian, look over there." Suddenly, Feng Fa's gaze froze as he looked to the right. "What's wrong?" Su Jingxing looked over and saw a huge starship parked on a large meteorite at the edge of the glazed illusory sea. A massive symbol was engraved on the surface of the starship. Su Jingxing had seen this symbol before. "The Tuahai family arrived earlier than us." Su Jingxing chuckled. "Clearly so," said Feng Fa with a cold expression. The starship on the meteorite was owned by the Tuahai family. Both parties had agreed to explore the glazed illusory sea together. Unexpectedly, the Tuahai family had already arrived. Su Jingxing didn't say anything. Feng Fa fell silent after a sneer. When the Heart Moon Fox's spaceship approached the glazed illusory sea and was closest to the Tuahai family's starship, both sides sent messages. Then, they each dispatched out a group of people to enter the vast and unknown glazed illusory sea. Su Jingxing followed the Heart Moon Foxes led by Feng Fa into the multicolored light. Nian Guer was the leader of the team, but Feng Fa had the most experience with the glazed illusory sea. Naturally, he would be the one to lead. The spaceship stopped at the edge of the glazed illusory sea. Su Jingxing and company, consisting of more than 30 people, were wrapped in Nian Guer's aura. They shuttled through the vacuum with Feng Fa in the lead and entered the light area. The same went for the Tuahai family. Their team was led by the first elder. The two teams were very close. This was agreed from the beginning. However, Feng Fa had told everyone who was entering the glazed illusory sea on the spaceship. After entering the glazed illusory sea, everyone would automatically separate. It was unavoidable no matter how people connected and bound themselves together before entering. Therefore, Su Jingxing and company each held a special jade token. They would contact each other after entering the glazed illusory sea. According to Feng Fa's experience, such custom-made jade tokens could connect to one another in a range of less than 10 kilometers in the glazed illusory sea. Su Jingxing also received a piece. The moment he entered the glazed illusory sea, he first sensed intense spatial fluctuations around him. The next second, his vision changed. An empty wilderness appeared before him, and there was a stretch of mountains in the distance. Above his head, the sky without the sun was incomparably bright and clear. Of course, there were no clouds. The thick ground beneath his feet was incomparably hard. An illusion? Su Jingxing quickly controlled his spiritual essence to cover his entire body. Then, he looked around again. This time, he realized that something was wrong. Be it the nearby wilderness or the distant mountains, they were all changing at all times. However, when Su Jingxing moved, the ground beneath his feet was always hard and solid. Even if the ground in front of him suddenly disappeared and there was only empty space, he still landed squarely on it. In his spiritual martial arts vision, everything before him was between reality and illusion. As for the others, as Feng Fa mentioned before, he had no idea where they had gone. Su Jingxing sensed the jade token in his hand for a moment, but received no response. According to the description of the function, this meant that there were no Heart Moon Foxes within 10 kilometers. Su Jingxing was not anxious. His spiritual essence covered his entire body, avoiding the changing scenery. His spiritual martial arts vision kept searching for strange things. After all, he was here for the Azure Dragon treasure box. If the Azure Dragon treasure box was really in the glazed illusory sea, the Tuahai family and the Heart Moon Foxes both wanted this last treasure box. How could Su Jingxing not want it? Of course, Su Jingxing also wanted to find the Overlord spiritual essence that the Heart Moon Fox King had mentioned. Unfortunately, along the way, the scenery kept changing. He did not see any special corners or abnormal objects. Until he spotted a strange existence that resembled a red arowana floating above a lake ahead. Su Jingxing stepped forward curiously. Just as he arrived at the lake. Swish! The space on the right suddenly opened and a group of people walked out. The other party was wearing custom-made battle armor that gave off a mechanical aura. The emblem on the battle armor was clear and eye-catching. The Tuahai family. Ha, we're in luck. There's actually a star arowana here. An excited voice sounded. A muscular middle-aged man more than 1.9 meters tall with a burly physique and extremely thick arms walked towards the lake with fierce and heroic steps. Then, his gaze turned cold when he saw Su Jingxing. Heart Moon Fox? Asked the middle-aged man coldly. Su Jingxing did not respond. At this moment, he was the closest to the arowana in the center of the lake. He immediately reached out and controlled his spiritual essence to fish it out. You are courting death. The middle-aged man's gaze turned cold as he immediately threw a punch at Su Jingxing. Bang! The air exploded. The terrifying fist force shattered a large amount of airflow. A giant bare arm condensed entirely from soul power, carrying a bloodthirsty, violent, and terrifying aura struck fiercely towards Su Jingxing. Huh, how dare you snatch the arowana in front of us? Die! In the Tuahai family team, Tuahai Fangyun's eyes lit up as he growled excitedly. It was as if he could already see the tragic scene of Su Jingxing's head exploding with the punch. Kill him, kill him. When 13th Master makes a move, everyone is trash. Little B****, how dare you snatch our things? Go to hell. The other Tuahai family members cheered. What's going on? Oh no. Move aside. At the same time, a Heart Moon Fox female who happened to walk out from the right side of the space exclaimed when she saw this scene. The middle-aged man's name was Tuahai Shandao. He was in the Cloud Ascension realm. The power of this punch was too terrifying, almost shattering the void. The Heart Moon Fox woman recognized Su Jingxing. She didn't expect to see Su Jingxing being killed by Tuahai Shandao as soon as they met again. She immediately shouted out loud. Pooh! 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 A series of explosions sounded in the air. The terrifying giant bear's fist crossed the air and attacked. The strong wind produced blew Su Jingxing's hair wildly in the air. Just as it was about to hit Su Jingxing. Boom! The air exploded. The sound this time was even louder than before. The lingering sound of rumbling echoed in the air. Su Jingxing swung his fist and released out a fist imprint formed from pure fist force. Bam! The fist imprint collided with the giant bear's fist, producing a dull sound. The next moment. Boom! Boom! A clap of thunder sounded. A violent shockwave shot out in all directions with the point of impact as the center. Su Jingxing was the first to bear the brunt. Energy swept out from his body and space distorted, but it quickly stabilized. The Heart Moon Fox female was shocked. She knew that Su Jingxing was a spiritual martial artist, but she didn't know his exact realm. He did not expect Su Jingxing to be able to withstand the attacks from Tuahai Shandao. Tuahai Shandao was at the peak of the Cloud Ascension realm. If Su Jingxing could block his attack, didn't that mean? On the other side, Tuahai Fangyun was stunned. He shook his head blankly and roared indignantly, "Impossible, this is impossible." The other members of the Tuahai family also gaped in shock. Even Tuahai Shandao himself was wide-eyed with wariness. How is this possible? That strike earlier had unleashed 80% of his strength. Unexpectedly, it was dispersed by a single punch from Su Jingxing. Little B****, your physical body is strong enough, but your cultivation is lacking. You will still die. Tuahai Shandao roared angrily. The aura of a peak cloud ascension cultivator was fully released, and an invisible pressure enveloped Su Jingxing. Scram! Su Jingxing swung his fist to resist it head-on. Bang! The pressure that enveloped his body immediately collapsed and dissipated into nothingness. An invisible force rebounded, causing Tuahai Shandao's soul power body to immediately become chaotic. His entire face seemed to be flushed red. My cultivation is lacking. Su Jingxing was aloof and filled with fighting spirit. He quickly circulated his spiritual essence. His body suddenly flashed. Swish! The sound of rapid wind was heard. Su Jingxing turned into a blur and charged straight towards Tuahai Shandao. Tuahai Shanda Zero, whose soul power was surging, saw this scene from the corner of his eye. He immediately roared in shame and anger, "Little beast, you're courting death." A mere little devil in the first realm dared to charge at him. Die! 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 Ah-oo! A beast roar came from Tuahai Shandao. Behind, in the air above his head, the phantom of a black bear with pitch-black pupils, a huge body, and a ferocious expression suddenly appeared. It emitted waves of savage, bloody, and violent aura. This was Tuahai Shandao's killing move. At this moment, as soon as it appeared, the aura on his body instantly soared. Surging soul power swept out and wrapped around his entire body. A second before Su Jingxing reached him, he crossed his fists and executed a domineering and cruel cultivation technique. Die! Bang! Their fists collided. Su Jingxing's body swayed, but Tuahai Shandao took 3 steps back. In the second exchange, it was still Tuahai Shandao who lost. Ah! Tuahai Shan roared in shame and anger, and the black-eyed devil bear snarled at the sky. With the augmentation of his soul, Tuahai Shandao transformed into a savage devilish beast and attacked Su Jingxing with a violent and bloody aura. In a flash, Su Jingxing countered with another punch. Bang! Pa! Boom! The dull sound of fists hitting flesh sounded in the air without end. The two of them fought in close combat like two bloodthirsty beasts going all out to kill the other. The cultivation technique that Tuahai Shandao cultivated was mainly for body tempering and defense. Coupled with his peak cloud ascension cultivation, no one below the same realm would dare to fight him in close combat. However, Su Jingxing was not afraid at all. The more he fought, the fiercer and more excited he became. Tuahai Shandao truly found this incredulous and was furious. He was a middle-ranking member of the Tuahai family, a peak cloud ascension expert. If word got out that he was evenly matched against a little devil of a heart moon fox, he would be utterly embarrassed. Die! You must die! Tuahai Shandao was enraged. His eyes were bloodshot as he growled. The angle and force of the attacks became more and more ferocious and cruel. Every move was fatal. Yet, no matter how crazily Tuahai Shandao attacked, Su Jingxing could easily receive them. Moreover, he became more and more familiar with controlling his own strength. Bang! 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 The dull thuds of fists striking flesh reverberated in the vast void. The two of them fought from the east side of the lake to the west. After half of the space in the west was damaged, they moved to the north. After most of the space in the north was destroyed, they moved to the south. As they collided madly, countless spatial turbulence immediately erupted and shot through the air. A few disciples of the Tuahai family were unable to dodge in time and were implicated on the spot, dying with their bodies penetrated. Tuahai Fongyun, the Heart Moon Fox female, and the others hid far away in fear. At this moment, rumble! A terrifying spatial explosion suddenly sounded. Everywhere Su Jingxing and Tuahai Shandao passed, space collapsed on a large scale. Then, a void door suddenly appeared. To be precise, it appeared out of thin air behind the collapsed space. Behind the door, a wide passageway paved with black stones was exposed before everyone. Tuahai Fongyun was stunned by this scene. The eyes of the Heart Moon Fox female lit up, and the jade token in her hand trembled non-stop. Swoosh! At this moment, a figure charged into the passageway at lightning speed and rushed into the depths. There's a treasure inside. Tuahai Fongyun snapped out of his daze. He raised his arms and shouted, "Everyone, go in quickly. Don't let anyone else beat us to it." With that, he ignored Tuahai Shandao and quickly rushed into the passageway. Bang! As space shattered, Su Jingxing retreated and flew back to the lake. Tuahai Shandao followed suit. However, as he retreated, his figure flashed towards the exposed passageway. Together with the other members of the Tuahai family, they disappeared into the depths of the passageway. Swoosh! As soon as everyone from the Tuahai family entered the passageway, Feng Fa walked out of a spatial crack. What's going on? Feng Fa scanned the scene and his gaze landed on Su Jingxing. Kong Xian, did someone make a move here just now? It was Tuahai Shandao and Company, the Heart Moon Fox female answered first. Eighth uncle, Tuahai Shandao wanted to snatch the star arowana from Brother Kong, but they couldn't defeat him. Brother Kong fought with Tuahai Shandao and then collapsed the space, revealing the void door behind. There was a passageway behind this door. Everyone from the Tuahai family ran into it. I see. Feng Fei nodded. Glancing at the red arowana that was still above the lake and raised his eyebrows. This star arowana is not bad. Kong Xian quickly put it away. Over time, the star arowana will dissipate again. After all, this thing doesn't have a physical body, it's just a ball of energy. I thought so too. Su Jingxing chuckled and put the energy fish in the form of a red arowana into his soul space. Earlier, Su Jingxing had discovered that this strange red arowana had a unique attraction to the primordial spirit. Clearly, it was a soul treasure. Brother Feng, do you know the passageway that the Tuahai family went through? Putting away the star arowana, Su Jingxing looked at the passageway that the group had entered and asked Feng Fa. I don't know. Feng Fa also stepped forward. He looked at the open void door and stared at the black stone passageway behind it. He frowned and said, but, if I'm not wrong, such a substantial passageway is definitely not simple in the glazed illusory sea. Shall we go in and take a look too? Su Jingxing invited. Of course. Feng Fa nodded and turned to look at the Heart Moon Fox female. Kong Xian and I will go in. You don't have to follow us. Go meet up with the others and move together. All right. The Heart Moon Fox female was a little reluctant, but she did not insist. She took the jade token and turned to leave. Let's go. Feng Fa called for Su Jingxing and they entered the void door. The two of them stepped into the passageway. Swish. The smooth stone walls on both sides of the passageway suddenly lit up. Strands of pale silver-white light shone like threads, illuminating the entire passageway. There was clearly nothing when they were outside, but once they entered, it lit up. Glowing walls. This is man-made, right? Such a magical method is quite breathtaking. Su Jingxing looked at the wisps of the strange aura that was invisible to the naked eye in the passageway and sighed. Indeed, this is not an illusion, but a real structure. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this is a masterpiece, let alone a superb creation. Feng Fa praised in agreement. The two of them chatted as they walked. After turning a long bend, a three-way junction suddenly appeared ahead. Feng Fa raised his eyebrows and said, Kong Xian, which path should we choose? Or do we split up? Hold on. Su Jingxing looked at the three forks and pondered. There's something wrong with this passageway. You must have noticed too. It's moving. Yes. Feng Fa nodded, his eyes flickering. This place is not simple. But, which path should we take? Su Jingxing didn't answer immediately. His gaze was fixed on a series of ancient characters that looked like scribbles on the top of the stone wall at the junction. Ming, do you recognize these writings? Asked Su Jingxing in his mind. This was not Su Jingxing sharing his vision with Ming. Instead, Su Jingxing directly copied the same handwriting in his mind after looking at the words. Then, Ming read it in his soul space. Master, it looks familiar. This is the language of the phantom race. Ming quickly replied, this is the language of the phantom race. Master, have you met the members of the phantom race? No. Also, is the phantom race the spirit race? I want to know what these words mean. Su Jingxing stared at the words at the top of the stone wall. The phantom race is not the spirit race. They are even more special. They are a life form existing between illusion and reality, Ming replied respectfully. These words say the true meaning of illusion is birthless and void of action. The true meaning of illusion is birthless and void of action. What does that mean? Su Jingxing was puzzled. I don't know. Ming replied, the language of the phantom race is rarely exposed to the outside world. According to what Ming knows, there are often mirage flowers where the phantom race lives. Mirage flower? A treasure herb? Asked Su Jingxing curiously. That's right. The mirage flower is an extremely rare treasure herb. Through it, one can comprehend the law of fate, Ming answered quickly. Comprehend the law of fate? Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. There was actually such a treasure herb. Tuahai Shandao and company were in such a hurry to enter the passageway. Did they know that there was a mirage flower inside? Without hesitation, Su Jingxing circulated the heavenly secret arts and deduced the most advantageous location. Soon, he received results and pointed at the leftmost path. Take the left. Left? Sure. Feng Fa thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. He was not familiar with this place, so they could only take things one step at a time. The two of them walked towards the left passageway one after another. Suddenly. Rumble. Rumble. The entire corridor shook violently, and wisps of white light fell from above. Crack. 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 A strange sound was heard, and a huge hole suddenly appeared in the ground beneath the duo's feet. A void door appeared out of thin air and pulled the two of them with a suction force. Caught off guard, Feng Fa was immediately caught and pulled down. Su Jingxing followed suit. However, compared to Feng Fa, Su Jingxing's spiritual essence protected his body. In a flash, he soared into the air, quickly stepping on the walls and charged upwards. Pa thump. Boom. The crack quickly closed and the void door disappeared. Su Jingxing landed back on the ground. Duh. Duh. After stepping on it a few times, he realized that the ground was still as hard as iron. It was solid. If Feng Fa had not disappeared, Su Jingxing would have thought that he had experienced an illusion again. It's indeed alive. Surprise appeared on Su Jingxing's face. Apart from shock, he became more vigilant. This passageway is directly bound to space. If this is a maze, Feng Fa should be on the next level. Su Jingxing thought for a moment and came to a conclusion. He was not worried about Feng Fa's safety. He had merely fallen to the next level. So be it. Whether we meet again is up to fate, Su Jingxing murmured and shook his head. Tap, tap, tap. Light footsteps echoed in the long, dark passageway. As Su Jingxing strode forward, he paid attention to his surroundings. He suddenly stopped in front of a huge mural. The mural was huge, 10 meters long and 8 meters wide. Engraved on it was a tall and handsome man with sharp ears. Beside the man was a furry four-eyed cute beast that resembled a rabbit. The two put together formed an inexplicably harmonious aura that filled the image. It made one feel as if they had seen the entire mural come alive. This is, a member of the phantom race? Su Jingxing asked Ming in his mind. Yes. This is a member of the phantom race. Beside it is the extreme luck beast, a powerful mutated beast that can shuttle through the river of fate. Ming explained through the portrait that Su Jingxing had simulated. Traverse the river of fate? Su Jingxing's eyes flickered slightly. He would remember this race, the phantom race. They could have a mutated beast that could shuttle through the river of fate following them. The uniqueness of the phantom race was obvious and formidable. Of course, to some races, subduing powerful mutated beasts was an affirmation of themselves. It was both glory and legacy. Just then. Swish. A cold glint appeared and killing intent burst forth. A figure suddenly flashed in the air beside Su Jingxing. A long sword appeared out of thin air and thrust towards him. Swish. The sword energy pierced through the air, full of might. It stabbed toward Su Jingxing's neck at an extreme speed. Humph, I've been guarding against you. Su Jingxing threw a punch unhurriedly. The terrifying force of his punch spiraled and stacked to neutralize the sword energy that had arrived before him. Then, it counterattacked all the way. Bang! 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 The air vibrated, accompanied by a groan. However, the exact figure was not exposed. Invisibility. Su Jingxing sneered coldly and swung his fist again, punching crazily at the empty passageway ahead. Boom! 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 Violent explosions continued, one after another. A few minutes ago, Su Jingxing had sensed an aura following him. He did not attack immediately because he wanted to see what the other party was up to. Now that the other party had suddenly launched a sneak attack and hit himself after striking, Su Jingxing wouldn't let him off so easily. Immediately, his fist imprints covered every corner of the passageway. Bam! 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 Fist shadows overlapped. Debris kept falling from the stone walls on both sides, stirring up dust. The spiritual essence fist imprints that were released stirred the air and wreaked havoc, covering the entire passageway and distorting the void. However, the person who launched the sneak attack refused to appear. Protected with a concealment treasure? Su Jingxing stopped, his eyes flashing. Buzz! The air vibrated. The next moment, a ball of flames mixed with strong winds suddenly appeared in the passageway. Then, it quickly swept through and drowned the entire passageway. Divine power, command the winds and fire. After the winds and fire appeared, they surrounded Su Jingxing and spread out at lightning speed. Ugh! A groan sounded. A distorted figure was finally forced to reveal itself. It was a person wrapped in a tight black and silver combat suit. His face and even his head were wrapped up, obscuring his appearance. His aura was also restrained to the extreme. From the attire, he did not look like he was from the Tuahai family. But the possibility could not be ruled out. A large faction like the Tuahai family also had small groups within. If he didn't want to be exposed, it was entirely possible for him to wear a custom-made combat suit to mislead others. Clang! Saber light flashed. The other party suddenly gave up on its long sword and drew its saber from its waist to slash at Su Jingxing. Not hiding anymore. Su Jingxing did not dodge. He threw another heavy punch at the figure that was rushing over. Boom! A dull explosion sounded in the air. Energy surged and transformed into a series of fist shadows that erupted with violent fist force. Like the roar of wind and thunder, they surged out. In just an instant, they passed through the air and collided with the saber of the figure. Clang! 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 Blades rolled and buzzed with metallic rings. The sharp fist force completely dissolved the saber force released by the other party. The invisible saber energy was completely dispersed. The powerful force even forced the other party to retreat repeatedly and sit on the ground. Plop! The moment the figure in the black and silver combat suit fell. Swoosh! Su Jingxing's vision blurred and the person disappeared again. His blood and chi, soul power, and mental fluctuations were all gone, as if they had never existed. Like a magic show where the entire person disappears. Su Jingxing's eyes lit up. Interesting. In the next moment. Swoosh! 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 Saber beam bloomed. A dazzling glow appeared in the void behind Su Jingxing's head. The violent saber energy was like ferocious beasts that roared and pounced crazily at Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing turned around and threw a punch at the surging saber energy. Boom! A clap of thunder sounded. Saber energy and fist winds stirred together, erupting with powerful force that wreaked havoc on the spot. The air in the area where they collided directly exploded. Swish! 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 The saber in the figure's hand transformed into endless saber beams that wrapped tightly around Su Jingxing. Clang! 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 Saber energy surged and struck Su Jingxing crazily, creating circles of ripples on the spiritual essence barrier. A spiritual martial artist. The figure in black and silver combat suit let out a cry. You're a spiritual martial artist. He never expected Su Jingxing to be a human spiritual martial artist and not a Heart Moon Fox. Human spiritual martial arts. No wonder, no wonder. The figure was shocked. He slashed at the spiritual essence barrier on Su Jingxing's body again and again. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not break through the spiritual essence barrier. Swish! Suddenly, the figure threw the saber in his hand to hack at Su Jingxing and turned to run. Heh, you're not slashing anymore. Su Jingxing sneered. Reaching out, he grabbed the saber that was thrown. In a flash, he gave chase. Whoosh! 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 The sound of rapid wind was heard. Although the figure was invisible again, the sounds of him bumping left and right were transmitted to Su Jingxing's ears from time to time, telling him where the figure was. Bang! 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 Another sound came. Su Jingxing's ears twitched. He aimed in the direction of the sound and pushed off his toes. Swoosh! Fast as lightning, he stepped through the air. Su Jingxing accurately rushed in front of the figure. He raised the saber in his hand and slashed down hard at the empty corner in front of him. Swoosh! Pooh! Saber beam flashed, and a large mouthful of blood splattered. Boom! The air exploded. The figure in black and silver combat suit revealed itself and flew back more than 10 meters before crashing to the ground and rolling a few times. Blood was seeping out from half of his mask. Swoosh! Su Jingxing threw away the cracked saber and flashed to his side. Looking down, he landed a palm strike. The firmament nirvana palm contained 300 years of spiritual essence cultivation. Boom! The passageway shook, and the figure sank into the ground. Card +1. Dead. After expending 300 years of cultivation, the figure in black and silver combat suit died on the spot under the firmament nirvana palm at the peak of perfection. Miraculously, the combat suit he was wearing did not shatter or crack. It only turned into a pool of liquid as its user died. No, not liquid, but countless small particles. Nanotechnology. With a thought, Su Jingxing released his will to touch these particles. In the next moment, he suddenly understood what these particles were. The Divine Concealment Combat Suit. A product of technology and refinement. It could be broken down and reconstructed. It could become bigger or smaller, immune to water and fire, and had powerful defense. Most importantly, it could turn invisible. Wearing the Divine Concealment Combat Suit and using soul power as a driving force, one could turn completely invisible. One's soul aura, physical aura, soul power fluctuations, and so on were all concealed. Of course, to be completely invisible, soul power had to cover every corner of the battle suit. This was very taxing. The fellow who ambushed Su Jingxing was discovered because his soul power did not cover his entire body. Now that he was dead, his primordial spirit had dissipated, and his physical body that was somewhere was severely injured. The control hub of the Divine Concealment Combat Suit was a soul imprint. Now that he was dead, the original imprint automatically disintegrated and disappeared. Su Jingxing touched the Divine Concealment Combat Suit with his will and left a soul imprint inside. Soon. Swish. The black and silver particles on the ground turned into a black line and climbed up Su Jingxing. In an instant, they covered his entire body and turned into a black and silver combat suit. His breathing wasn't affected, and it was as if he wasn't wearing anything as he walked. The blood spat out by the fellow who had died earlier did not leave any traces behind nor stained with the battle suit. For this reason, Su Jingxing did not feel any discomfort when he put on the Divine Concealment combat suit. Controlling it with soul power, he familiarized himself with the changes in the combat suit, especially when the mask was sometimes put away and sometimes on his face. Nice, nice. This Divine Concealment combat suit was completely an unexpected gain. He wondered where the fellow who ambushed him came from. Su Jingxing didn't probe further. Wearing the Divine Concealment combat suit, he continued to go deeper into the passageway. Before long, a strong and refreshing fragrance suddenly assaulted his nose. What's so fragrant? Flowers? Su Jingxing sniffed and followed the fragrance. Wait, flowers? The mirage flower. Su Jingxing perked up. Ming had just said that wherever the illusionary spirit race was, there was often the rare treasure herb, the mirage flower. Could the fragrance that Su Jingxing was picking up now be the fragrance of the mirage flower? At this thought, Su Jingxing controlled the Divine Concealment battle suit to cover his entire body. His soul power also spread to every corner of the battle armor to turn him completely invisible. Then, he quickly moved forward, following the fragrance. When he entered an empty hall and swept his gaze around, he saw a plant that looked like an epiphyllum flower and emitted waves of fragrance. It was eye-catching in the center of the side hall. This strange epiphyllum is the mirage flower. Su Jingxing hid in a corner and glanced at the group of people around the plant that resembled the epiphyllum. These people were none other than the members of the Tuahai family who had entered earlier. At this moment, they were animatedly having a discussion around the plant. Among them, Tuahai Fangyun was the most enthusiastic. He urged Tuahai Shan, 13th uncle, how long will it take for this treasure herb to bloom? I don't know, but according to the fragrance of the flowers, it should be soon. Tuahai Shandao pondered. An hour, no, about 40 minutes. Another 40 minutes. All right. Tuahai Fangyun sighed and asked curiously, 13th uncle, do you think this is a mutated epiphyllum? How could it be the epiphyllum? Although I don't know the species and level of this spirit herb it is, it's definitely a treasure. Tuahai Shandao replied in a deep voice, I can draw a general conclusion from the fragrance. The function of this flower is most likely targeted at enlightenment. In addition, I suspect that after this treasure herb blooms, its effects will only last for a few seconds. Once the duration is over, the effects will disappear. Ah, for real? Tuahai Fangyun was stunned and asked nervously. It's still unknown whether it's true or not. Tuahai Shandao shook his head slightly. Let's wait. We'll know when the time comes. There's such a thing. In the corner, Su Jingxing fell into deep thought when he heard their conversation. A medicinal effect that lasts only a few seconds after the flower blooms? Ming. Su Jingxing called out to Ming in his soul space and asked this question. If it's the mirage flower, it indeed only has a few seconds of effect. When Ming heard this, he explained, although the duration is very short, as long as you pluck it and wrap it in soul power, it can still be stored away, especially in your soul space, master. If you wrap a mirage flower in soul power, you can store it for as long as you want. That's good. Su Jingxing grinned. If it could be stored for a long time, there would be no problem. Time flew by. As the countdown got closer and closer to the blooming time mentioned by Tuahai Shandao, the discussions in the hall gradually decreased. Everyone stared at the mutated epiphyllum without blinking. Their throats moved and the gulping sound of them swallowing saliva could be heard from time to time. At the forefront of the crowd, Tuahai Fangyun's eyes were wide. Tuahai Shandao was prepared to pick the flower. The atmosphere was extremely tense. No one dared to make a sound, and their hands trembled slightly. Anticipation, excitement, and other expressions appeared on their faces. Only Su Jingxing. His soul power covered every corner of the Divine Concealment combat suit. He stood openly half a meter away from the mirage flower and waited quietly while silently calculating the time in his heart. 10. 9. 8. 3. 2. 1. Now. Buzz. The air suddenly trembled, and a boundless divine aura burst forth in the hall. As Tuahai Shandao had said, the mirage flower that had its crown tightly shut suddenly bloomed at the 40-minute mark. At this moment, Su Jingxing reached out at lightning speed and plucked the entire mirage flower. He put it into his soul space and wrapped it with his soul power. Then, in a flash, he rushed out of the hall like he was flying. Swoosh! 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 Almost at the same time, Tuahai Shandao reached out to grab the mutated epiphyllum. Ha ha ha! Tuahai Shandao grinned widely, but he suddenly stopped midway. His eyes widened and his empty hands froze for a moment before he suddenly roared. Where is the flower? That's right, where was the flower? There was no treasure herb in Tuahai Shandao's hands at all. What he had just grabbed was only an illusion. Everyone was dumbfounded. They finally waited until the treasure herb bloomed, but it had mysteriously disappeared. Could it be that this treasure herb would be destroyed once it bloomed? No. There was a gust of wind just now. Tuahai Fangyun was the first to react. He quickly said, that gust of wind earlier wasn't by chance. It was caused by someone who escaped after seizing the treasure herb in the invisible state. Courting death. Tuahai Shandao's face was cold as he said icily, he's courting death by snatching something from my hands. Whoosh! He pushed off his foot and chased out of the hall at lightning speed. Let's go too. Tuahai Fangyun called for the crowd and followed behind. Let's go find the thief who stole the treasure herb. The others shouted and charged out of the hall. In less than half a minute, there was no longer anyone in the hall. No one saw that between the two stone slabs where the mutated epiphyllum grew, a groove suddenly trembled after losing the suppression of the energy of the flower. Then, with a series of rhythmic soft sounds, the groove began to move inch by inch to the right. Chi! 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 The groove chassis rubbed against the stone slabs. At first, it was as slow as a snail, but gradually, it gained the speed of a pony. Faster and faster, faster and faster. Finally, the movement was completed, revealing a mysterious array formation engraved with strange runes beneath. Chi! 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 The patterns on the array formation flickered faintly and emitted a fluorescent glow. First, there was a pale white glow, then 2, 3, 4, 5. More and more, and increasingly blinding. The moment they reached the limit. Bang! The mysterious array formation that had appeared exploded. All the patterns began to burn silently, turning into fiery snakes that burned fiercely. The burning range continued to increase. The moment the entire array formation disappeared with it. Boom! Boom! The entire hall shook violently. The stone slabs kept cracking and falling. The huge hall collapsed everywhere, revealing the space below. There was a massive space beneath the hall. This space was not like the hall with only one flower. In the space, countless lifeless mechanical puppets were densely packed and filled everywhere. They did not move and stood quietly like statues. There were so many of them that it made one's scalp tingle. There was no end in sight. Every mechanical puppet held a huge strange weapon that resembled a blade or a sword in their hands. Like guards guarding a mausoleum, their eyes were closed as they guarded silently for countless years. The entire underground space was dead quiet. However, the mysterious array formation that grew with the mirage flower had disappeared. As if summoned, all the mechanical puppets suddenly opened their emotionless eyes. Then, they raised their stiff feet and beginning with those at the edge, walked step by step. Crack! Crack! An ear-piercing sound reverberated through the underground space. One after another, burly mechanical puppets walked out of the underground space in an orderly manner and slowly walked towards the entrance of the hall. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the same time, in a quiet passageway. As expected of the divine concealment combat suit, Su Jingxing's consciousness was immersed in his soul space. He looked at the mirage flower and grinned. He looked at this precious herb up close. Compared to similar epiphyllum flowers, the mirage flower was countless times more beautiful. The separated translucent petals were like crystals, sparkling and translucent, like the stars in the sky. It was mesmerizing. Comprehend the law of fate. Su Jingxing took a deep breath, as if he could smell a fragrance that made his soul tremble. After a while, his consciousness returned, and he calmed himself down to continue exploring. The mirage flower was a pleasant surprise. The Overlord's spiritual essence mechanism was his goal. The problem was that Su Jingxing couldn't deduce it even with the heavenly secret arts. The Overlord's spiritual essence mechanism was not a physical entity at all, nor was it. What's going on? All of a sudden, Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. He sensed a great danger filling his body and sweeping over from all directions. Su Jingxing didn't like such omens. After some thought, he decided to leave. Swish! Like an arrow, Su Jingxing flew out of the passage he came in from. After turning a corner at a three-way junction, a person suddenly rushed out from the left passageway. Brother Feng, you're out. Su Jingxing recognized the person and swiftly put away the divine concealment battle suit as he called out in surprise. Kong Xian. Feng Chong was also stunned when he saw that it was Su Jingxing. However, immediately after, he said solemnly, "Let's leave quickly. This underground palace is dangerous." With that, he pulled Su Jingxing up and ran towards the middle corridor. Danger? What did you encounter? Asked Su Jingxing as he ran. I'm not sure, I don't know what's going on either. In any case, I suddenly felt a great danger descend, answered Feng Fa with a solemn expression. A great danger has arrived? Su Jingxing recalled the warning earlier. To think Feng Fa had also sensed it. Both of them had received a warning of danger, which meant that something major had indeed happened in this underground palace. And this matter could threaten their safety. With this in mind, Su Jingxing was puzzled, but he also knew that he wouldn't get any answers at this time. He could only follow Feng Fa and escape. The two of them flew quickly through the passageway towards the exit. When they passed by a forked path, under Tuahai Fanyan's lead, a few martial artists from the Tuahai family happened to come out from another passageway. When the two groups of people met, they were both stunned. In the confrontation, Su Jingxing coughed lightly and called out to Feng Fa, "Brother Feng, let's go." With that, he prepared to leave. But, at this moment, "Stop right there." Tuahai Fanyan suddenly shouted angrily, pointing at Su Jingxing and Feng Fa. "Stop right there. You want to escape after stealing the treasure herb? Dream on. 13th uncle, we found the treasure medicine. The thief is a heart-moon fox." Swoosh! Tuahai Fangyun shouted as he turned around to escape. The few martial artists who were with Tuahai Fangyun were stunned. Their gazes quickly swept across Su Jingxing and Feng Fa. Then, they turned around and fled with Tuahai Fangyun. As they ran, they shouted. "The thief is a heart-moon fox. The thief is a heart-moon fox." Agitated voices quickly spread in all directions in the passageway. Then, they continued to spread and echoed in the countless winding corridors. The herb thief is a heart-moon fox. A heart-moon fox. Heart-moon fox.